Hello and welcome to Retail 101, Introduction to Pricing Basics. I'm the Master of Business Ambiguity, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking to you about how pricing works across different organizations. Some of the reasons you might be watching this video is you plan on starting a business and you want to understand what is a good pricing strategy. You're doing some sort of course project work, or you're working for a retailer and you want to understand how does pricing typically work, or you're just trying to grow your knowledge base. I'm going to try to answer some very simple questions and explain some simple principles about pricing through this video. And so stay tuned, and I'm going to actually go through some of the most important things about pricing, but keeping it fairly high level and fairly simple, something that you'll be able to digest and run with. So what is pricing? Pricing represents the value, usually in some sort of monetary sense, at which you're selling a good or a service to a consumer. It really is just the basic principle of any sort of barter or transaction system. You provide me with some sort of good or some sort of service, and I'm going to pay you the price that we've agreed upon for that good or for that service. So let's just go over a quick example. Let's say I walk into a grocery store and I see a cereal box. Let's call it cereal box A. I see a price for it. It says that it costs $6. That is the price for the item. Let's say that there's a juice box that's actually next to it, juice carton B, and it is being sold for $5. So that's the price of that item. This is a very simple, very straightforward concept. We've been taught pricing, or this concept of pricing, ever since we were small children, and so this shouldn't be anything too foreign for anyone. But let's talk a little bit more about what is a pricing mix. So this is where things get a little bit more interesting, and I guarantee you each and every single one of you that's watching this video has experienced the pricing mix in the past. The pricing mix is probably the most powerful way of conveying some sort of good or service in a way that will entice a consumer to buy it. So let's talk about that pricing mix first. So we've got the regular price of an item. That's basically the price at which a good or service is sold. That's what the consumer expects to pay for the item when it's not actually being promoted or on clearance. Let's say that the average price that you pay for a video game is 60 bucks. When you go into that video game store and you see a price for $60 for any new video game that's coming out, that's basically the regular price. There isn't any sort of special or promotion running. They're not trying to get out of the video games by selling them at a deeply discounted price. It really is what the consumer expects to pay when there isn't any sort of promotion going on. Typically, when you walk into a grocery store or any sort of retail store in general, the store will be littered with regular priced items because that is what the consumer is expecting to pay. That being said, there's something called a promotional or a sale price. That's actually a special or lower than regular price that's been set for a good or service for a limited time. So this is something something special that the consumer can get excited about. It inspires purchasing. Let's say you walk into that same store, you're looking to buy a video game, and you're typically paying $60, but you actually see that that game you wanted is on sale for $40. You're going to save 20 bucks. So that promotional or sale price has actually enticed you to buy that item. This is really a special deal for the consumer, and it also inspires that purchasing decision. And finally, the third most prominent pricing mix is the clearance or markdown price. This is a blowout price that's typically used to close out of a good or a service. The price is exceedingly lower than promotional pricing and represents a substantial discount for the consumer. So let's say that same video game you were interested in, it was initially $60, and then they put it on sale for $40, but let's say this is about a year to 2 years later. That game is now old, nobody really wants to play it, but you still want to add it to your collection because you haven't bought it yet. That store is actually planning on not selling that game any longer, and they want to move all of their inventory, so they sell it down to $20. You're able to actually get that video game for $40 cheaper than the regular price, and for $20 cheaper than the promotional price that they had earlier for that game. These three prices that you see here, regular pricing, promotional pricing, and clearance pricing, these by and large make up the pricing mix of any retailer on earth. Any retailer will exercise a strategy that has some sort of regular pricing, promotional pricing, or clearance or markdown pricing to blow out of an item. There may be some exceptions to this rule, but by and large, this is sort of the most concise way about understanding how a pricing strategy works. So why is pricing important? Because the price of a good or a service is what a consumer budgets against. So let's take an example. John Doe's mom gives him $20 to buy breakfast supplies as part of their weekly grocery shopping. John needs to make a decision about what supplies to buy, and that's going to be based on his budget, the price of the goods that he's looking to buy, and what his needs are as a consumer. So taking another deep dive into this example, once again, John's got 20 bucks, he needs to buy some breakfast supplies, and he's got two stores close to him with the following regular prices. He's got store A and store B. Store A and store B are only selling at regular prices. They have no promotions, they have no markdowns, they have no clearance running. And so what you'll see here is that store A is selling milk for $5, store B is selling it for $4. It's a better deal at store B. Going down the list, fruit is the same price at both stores. There's some price differences here and there, but by and large, store A is actually more expensive than store B. So what is John going to do? John will most definitely shop at store B because it has the lowest pricing available across all goods. I mean, this is assuming that both the stores are fairly close to each other. John doesn't have to drive extra far to get to store B. If they're right next to each other, there's no reason that John would shop at store A, given that he's able to get everything that he needs potentially at store B for a cheaper price. So let's say store A got smart and they started employing a mixed pricing strategy. So once again, John has $20, he needs to buy breakfast supplies, and store A and B are close to him. Store A has taken their mixed pricing strategy and dropped the price from their regular retail for milk, cereal, and fruit. If John was simply buying milk, it would actually be better for him now to shop at store A than store B. If he was buying bread, then he's equally well off whether he goes to store A or store B. And if he's buying juice, he's better off at store B. But typically consumers buy a basket of goods. They're not just buying a single good. So let's say that John wants to buy some milk, he wants to buy some fruit, and he wants to buy some juice. If he wants to buy these three things, at store A, he's going to be spending $3 on milk, he's going to be spending $5 on fruit, and $5 on juice. His total basket is $13. At store B, that exact same basket is actually going to cost him $15. It's $2 cheaper for him to shop at store A than it is for him to shop at store B, even though for the price of juice, he's actually paying a higher price at store A. It's still a better deal for John to shop at store A, even though for that one item, he is paying a little bit more because he's saving even more than that across the milk and the fruit. So what does John do? Well, John has a tough decision to make now. How does he satisfy his grocery needs with the least cost possible? So basically what this is saying is that pricing is important. People work hard for their money, and most consumers try to spend it wisely based on their needs. Pricing plays a huge part in the decision to purchase a good or a service, and for some people, it's actually the single most important factor in a purchasing decision. Businesses learned this a very, very long time ago. They play around with the pricing mix frequently to try to influence consumers to make certain purchase decisions. That pricing mix between regular, sale and promotional, and markdown and clearance pricing really is the ultimate kit for a retailer or for someone that's basically selling a good or a service to try to inspire people to make certain purchase decisions, and everybody utilizes it, and those that utilize it well make the most money and are the most successful businesses out there. I just want to stop and say thank you for watching this video. Please comment with suggestions for any future videos that you may want to see. There's more content coming soon in the Retail 101 series. We'll take a deeper dive into each one of those pricing mix items that we talked about. We'll talk a little bit about forecasting, a little bit about replenishment. And if you like this video, please hit subscribe to support free learning. I'm going to try to pump out content fairly frequently for this. And so I once again appreciate your time and thank you so much for subscribing and supporting this channel. Cheers.